So in this video, I'm going to go over the benchmark for coordinating systems or coordinate systems. So a coordinate system is a system that uses one or more numbers or coordinates to uniquely determine the position of the points. And you may have seen them in math because we use an XY coordinate system to describe points. So here's an example here. And the way that it's related to Earth science is we actually use a coordinate system to show locations on Earth. So Earth's coordinate system has been established using circular lines to pinpoint any place on Earth. And we have to use circular lines because the Earth is round. So Earth's coordinate system is based on lines of latitude and longitude. And so we're going to go through what the difference is between latitude and longitude. We've seen latitude when we've looked at the daily path of the Earth and how it changes based on how far north or south a location is. And so now we're going to use that when we're looking at maps. So latitude is the imaginary, they are imaginary horizontal lines running all the way around the globe. And so this should look very familiar because as you can see, we have the equator, the tropics. So north is the Tropic of Cancer and south is the Tropic of Capricorn, the Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle. So those are the major lines of latitude. And lines are parallel to the equator. So you can see that if we think of the equator as being a line that's going around the middle of the Earth, then all of the other lines are going to be parallel to that. And they're going to range from 0 degrees, which is what the equator is, to either 90 degrees north or 90 degrees south. So the North Pole is 90 degrees north. That's the highest number you can have for a line of latitude to the north. And then 90 degrees south is the South Pole. So saying or seeing that there's a latitude of 300 degrees would not be accurate because the highest number you could have for a latitude is 90. So longitude is going to be the other way that we define a position on Earth. And so lines are parallel to a line of longitude called the prime meridian. And so the prime meridian was the first established longitude line. It goes through Greenwich, England. And so that's 0 degrees. And then we count the other lines of latitude related to that. And so they're going to move to 180 degrees west or 180 degrees east. And so this is because a circle will have 360 degrees in it. If we go all the way to the other side of the world from 0 degrees, that would be 180 degrees from that point. And so once you get to that point, then you start getting into the other side, into the east or the west. So we split the globe in half. 360 divided by 2 is 180. And then we define all of those locations as being east or west of this prime meridian. And sometimes you'll see longitude lines also called meridian lines or meridians. And that's just because the prime meridian, prime means like first, is the major line of longitude. And so let's first talk about these major lines. So the equator is exactly 0 degrees latitude. So it goes in the middle of the Earth. All latitude lines are parallel to the equator. And it's exactly equidistant to the North and South Pole. So equidistant means equal distance. So it's going to cut the world in half. And as we know, the equator is the closest point to the sun at the start of the spring and fall. And that's the day where we have exactly 12 hours of sunlight and 12 hours of 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night, because that is, those are the equinoxes. So the first check for understanding that you're going to do is the Tropic of Capricorn a latitude line or a longitude line? And you can see from this picture that the Tropic of Capricorn is this line right here. So is that latitude or longitude? And so remember that latitude are the ones that are parallel to the equator. So the Tropic of Capricorn is parallel to the equator. So it is a line of latitude. Is the international date line a latitude or longitude? And so from this diagram, you can see the international dateline. It's this line that goes from the top to the bottom of the Earth. And you can see that the equator is going to be perpendicular or at 90 degrees to the international dateline. So is this international dateline latitude or longitude? So the international dateline is longitude because it's going to be measuring east or west of something because it's going up and down compared to the equator. Sorry, the equator, which is going across the Earth. So the prime meridian, just to reiterate, is 0 degrees longitude. So it's the first meridian. And all the lines of longitude run parallel with the prime meridian. And so this is actually showing a picture of the prime meridian going through Greenwich, England. And Greenwich, England is the town that the prime meridian runs through. That's where we define the prime meridian. And then anything that is on the same meridian as Greenwich is always also going to be 0 degrees. And so it also divides the Earth into two hemispheres. Just like the equator divides the Earth into north and south, the prime meridian is going to divide the Earth into east and west hemispheres. And so the way that we use longitude and latitude is that we can use both of those numbers to define where something is on Earth. So the Earth is divided into different sections with longitude and latitude lines. Where these lines cross, they create points called coordinates. So just like we have an XY coordinate, and if you give the X and Y, you can define a point. If we give the latitude and longitude, then we can define a location. So we can use coordinates to describe a location anywhere on Earth. So for example, if you look at this picture here, we have the lines of longitude are labeled on the bottom as 70 degrees west, 80 degrees west, 90 degrees west, etc. You'll notice that the United States is in the Western Hemisphere, so all of the longitude lines are going to be labeled as west because England is over here to the right and to our east, and that's where the prime meridian is. And then you can also see the lines of latitude. So we have 30 degrees north, 40 degrees north, 50 degrees north. So because we are, the United States is above the equator, the United States is in the northern hemisphere. And so all of our lines of latitude will be labeled with north. And so if we wanted to describe, for example, the location of Phoenix, Arizona, which is down here, we can see that it's going to be between 110 and 120 degrees west. So maybe we would say like 112 degrees west. And then it's between 30 degrees north and 40 degrees north. And so we just looking at where it is compared to those lines, maybe we say that it's 33 degrees north. So the coordinates would be 112 degrees west to 33 degrees north. And if they gave you those coordinates and you looked at this map, you could also see that that is describing Phoenix. So in your Earth Science Reference Table, page 3, you actually have a map of New York. And so this is where you would be asked to show that you understand latitude and longitude. And so if you have not, you should stop and go do the activity where you color in and label that map. But if you have, then now you're a little bit familiar with the different parts of the map. So the first question is to use the Earth Science Reference Table to answer the question. What town is located at 43 degrees with 5? This is called minutes. 43 degrees, 5 minutes north. That means slightly past 43 degrees. And 76 degrees, 10 minutes west. So if we go to our Earth Science Reference Table, so remember that for the north and south, we're looking at the lines of latitude. So we're looking for 43 degrees, a little past 43 degrees north. So here are the lines of latitude. You can see we have 42, 43, 44, 45. So 43 is here. So we're looking for let me, color here. So here's our 43. So we're looking for anything that's slightly north of that 43 line. So you can see that there are actually a couple cities that are close to that line. And then the other thing we need is the longitude. So 76 degrees, 10 minutes west. So if we look at the bottom, we can see here's 75, 76, 77, 78. So if it's got any of those minutes with the little apostrophe, that means past that line. And so we need something that's a little bit past the 75. So it'll be in between 75, 76, but just a little bit past that. So here's 75. So we're gonna just mark that. And so I want something that's a little bit past that. So the one that is closest to those lines is Utica. So Utica would be the answer. Next question. What town is located at 42 degrees, 45 minutes north and 73 degrees, 40 minutes west? All right, so again, we're going to start with our line of latitude. So we need something that's 42 degrees north, 45 minutes. So just like in an hour, there are 60 minutes in between each line, each of these lines of longitude or latitude. So this is going to basically be 45 minutes would be about 3/4 of the way between 42 and 43. So let's go to 42. So 42 is here. So I'm going to draw my line around 42. And just to give you some reference, I'm also going to draw my line around 43. All right, let's move that down. So about 3/4 of the way would be maybe somewhere around here. So this is the line that I care about. And then I'm looking for, so you can see that I have a couple of cities that are close to Buffalo and Albany. So then I need my longitude. So 73 degrees, 40 minutes west. So 73. If I go down to the bottom, here's 73. Okay. And then here's 74. And so a little bit past they even labeled 73 and a half. So 73.40 is going to be here. And so these were the lines that I cared about, this one and this one. So that's going to be Albany. All right, and then the last question asks for you to find a town that's located at 44 degrees, 10 minutes north, and 73 degrees, 55 minutes west. So again, there are 60 minutes between the lines. So you can see that 10 minutes would be closer to 44 than to 45, and 55 minutes would be closer to 74 than to 73 because it's almost to 60 minutes. All right, so if you look at the map for 4410, so a little bit past 44, so that's the line here, is 44, so a little bit beyond that. And there's only one city that's slightly north of that. But then we'll look at the other coordinate is 7355. So I labeled 74 because 7355 is close to 74. And so you can see that Mount Marcy would be the town that would be located at that position.